It's a little bit late, kind of early in the morning, late at night if you will. So I'm just going to shoot from the hip and start this thing off, shave. Today we're working on a whipped dog 24 millimeter Silvertip Badger. And he's been soaking for 7-8 minutes. Now, I switched to this Luna handle. It's a bigger handle, it's longer. I bowl lather, and so that really gives me the space I need. But lately it's just been kind of feeling like balled up on my skin. I don't know if I need to wash it or soak it in some vinegar or something like that. I really like these whipped dog brushes. I think they're a great value. But that one's starting to feel a little weird. I actually emailed the proprietor, and so hopefully he'll get back with me with any tips or anything. But I've had nothing but good result with the original handle that I bought. Okay, we're going to try out Cade Rich. My first time trying this. I got it used. And the Rich goes with the razor in this regard, because this is what some regard as the genre of some of the best vintage razors out there. I think the 40s and the 1940s, I think, where this one that came out. This is, I believe, is a Aristocrat 15, which is a British version. Many people regard those as better than the American versions and more highly prized. And so I am going to enjoy giving it a shot. We'll have a little razor tour at the end of the video. I'm not putting a super amazing blade in it, because yesterday I shaved with an Aristocrat that was the American version, and I used this exact model of blade. So this is a Wilkinson Sword. This is the same one that I used yesterday, and this is a brand new, so was the other one. So I wanted to compare to see if I could tell any difference from the American Aristocrat versus this one. So someday I'll put in a nice blade in it, like a feather or something, and we'll see what happens. I'm sure it'll be great. Okay, for the post game, Witch Hazel, Thayer's, alcohol-free, unscented, with aloe. And then after that, I'll be putting on the aftershave balm from Nivea. All right, I think we can go ahead and jump in this. Just kind of pre-soaked my face. I don't know what to expect with this Cade cream. I'm going to shake all the water off my brush before loading. It says it's got glycerin in it. So my brush was soaking in distilled water, so that should make sure that I get a good lather in case this cream is not tolerant of that. Okay, it's been a long time since I've been using the hard soap so much that I'm sure I've got enough. I do not need to spend a lot of time loading it like I do with the hard soaps, I am sure. So I'm just going to start right here. Whip it up. I'm sure I'm going to be adding water very soon. Definitely a kind of a polarizing fragrance with this one. I can definitely see how some people would want to pass it by. Some people might really like it. Boy, there's just, what is that smell? There's something I recognize about that. And it's not, super great. It was like wax museum, that was kind of the word. that kind of thing. So I just added some water for the second time. So here's how we're doing so far. Just playing it cautious since I don't know how this lathers. One of the objects here, I'm going to go again here. One of the objects is you've got water in the brush. You've got the cream on the tips of the brush. So you need to get those guys together first. And so that's why it's good to crank on it for a little while. And who knows, you know, I've been using hard soaps. This may be a totally different lather experience than those guys. A little more water. This particular handle does kind of get a little hard to hold on to when things get soapy. Not hard, but the other one's just so much easier. Yeah, it's starting to see around the whoop, don't let that guy get away. See around the edges, and it is really shiny. A good sheen to it as I continue to hydrate it with the water. Not too many things I would hydrate it with other than water, right? That's kind of silly. Yeah, this is coming together. Cade, it may be a word for something that describes this smell, like it may be a kind of wood or a plant or, you know, something like that. Yeah, see, look, we are getting tons of good looking lather. So, all right, I'm gonna add more. I'm gonna just make sure from what I understand, one of the chief goals of your lather is going to be to make sure, or of lather building, just make sure that it's hydrated. Make sure that your lather has enough water, because if it goes on dry, it doesn't help your skin nearly as much. Or if it's, I mean, not dry, but if it's a little too dry, if it's not as wet as it could be, then it's not helping your skin as well as it could. Yeah, see, look, we're really starting to get the lather explosion. Who knows, with the amount of scrubbing I did in there, I may have pulled out enough cream to last 2 or 3 shaves. But hey, you know, we're all learning. So I read up on the Aristocrat 15, obviously, before I acquired it. And what I actually thought when I bought it was that I was getting a deal, that I was buying a 16, because I hadn't yet learned how to identify exactly the model, because the patent numbers are the same on the 15 and the 16. So I thought that I had discovered a 16 for sale as a 15, and so I was getting a super deal. Well, it wasn't a super deal because it was a 15, which isn't worth as much as a 16. But I didn't get shafted, so at least there's that. Okay, this is just crazy amounts of thick yogurty foam. This is just insane. I need to make sure it's almost too much. Wonder if you can, wouldn't it be funny if you could freeze foam, freeze your lather if you built too much up, throw your leftovers in the freezer and have them again the next day. Well, they are mostly water. Really gotta use a lot of finger strength too. I think I'm gonna grip it down a little closer to the brush. That way I don't have to use quite as much strength and grip in the fingers, even though it means my hand is gonna be all in it. But look at that amazing foam. That is pretty hot, and I bet it would just keep going if I kept adding water. But I think we're gonna stop. Let me see if I can gather all this on one. I'll put it back by my face just for a size comparison. So pretty wild, huh? Doesn't have quite the sheen that it had when we first started. All right, you know what I call that? Pre-shave. I didn't do a pre-shave with the other Aristocrats. I'm going to go and rinse this off instead of using it. One more time for that later. All right, I did get my face wet a minute ago. Obviously it's dried now. So let's get it a little bit more wet. And start up the lather. Ooh, that is smooth. And yeah, this does seem to feel a lot different. Of course, my other brush was using a different cream, and it wasn't. The lather that I had was a little bit light because my soap sample was kind of small that I had been given, and I maybe added a little too much water. Okay, this is crazy lathered good. See, it's making me speak weird because it's so good, right? Now, even though a nice thick lather like this happens pretty quickly, you do need to scrub. Got to get under those hairs, making them try to stand up and not bond so tightly to the skin, you know, something like that. I may be off a little bit on exactly what we're trying to do, but we do need to get this all over those hairs and in and around them so that they will get in a better position for us to chop them down. So this is a terrific lather. And so sometimes if there's a tendency, if you've got a nice thick lather in your bowl, to not do too much scrubbing, just lay it on and start mowing. Don't do that. Do some scrubbing. Pretty sure you'll be rewarded. All right, the blade is in here. I'm just going to check alignment. You know what, this I'll just show you right quick. This is the first razor I've ever had that doesn't have the notches right here, and it has these T-shaped parts to the vertical ridge there, and so it's grabbing that razor in a way that is making it super secure. I bet in this particular kind of razor, if it has the T's at the end of everything, I wouldn't be surprised if you didn't even have to check the alignment on those, because I tried to wiggle it. It wiggles very little. All right, let's see what we can do here. Very slick. The blade feels like it's being held pretty well in the razor, you know, in terms of just being secure and not flexing too much, or not giving too much chatter. Really started out loving my Parker variant, and I still do, but I'm kind of starting to maybe think that the blade chatter that it produces might be a negative. It does that because it's not the vice-like parts of the head are not close to the edge of the blade. I'm kind of doing a cross grain pattern in the neck area. Straight down is fine for, as I say, with the grain pattern on my cheeks, but I'm just trying some different things out with my neck, because this little zone right here is tough to trim all the way because it's in a recessed area. Feels great. The knurling is much more pronounced on the American Aristocrat. It's got ridges that go up and down like the Fat Boy, and but this has plenty of grip. All right, this might be iridium coated, iridium plated, which is cool. I'm gonna rinse this off and do an inspection. Well, that pass did not do too much to my neck area. So let's work on a second pass. Yeah, this brush feels softer than my Luna, than this guy. They both might. This is probably a little bit more broken in, but badgers don't usually have a weird broken in behavior like boars do. Sometimes the badgers can be the lather hogs, is the word I've seen people use, and it just means that they kind of want to hold on to their lather. So you can see I've got tons of it on my brush, but I have to kind of work and cajole it out of the brush with the painting motions like that. And then kind of, I do a little turn like that to try to get some of that out. I'm going to be interested to see what the Cade smell actually is, what it's named after, if it's just a random name or a type of wood or specific type of scent. All right, let's do it again. Second path, super smooth. Here a little bit of chatter, but and I think the And I think the American version probably had a little bit less chatter. You really felt you felt the blade, you felt it cutting, but it was just so solid. I'm going to go slow. I need to remember to have a light touch. I'm going to soak that area up one more time, you know, because this is the area that's the trouble. Everywhere else pretty much gets shaved very well after just 2 passes. Let me think about my angle of attack here. Am I on my second? Yeah, this is just my second pass. I'll come from the bottom on my third. This cream, this lather is so protective. It is just so slippery. Just, at least that's the way it feels. Kind of, yeah. I can go down too far on my neck sometimes. It's one of the downfalls of just throwing on a whole lot of lather like I do. All right. Face sensitivity feels great. Almost feels like I have just been putting on lotion, to be honest with you. And maybe that's what this caliber of shaving cream is trying to do for you. I'm going to rinse and be back. Yeah, as I was splashing water on my face with both hands, and then I was drying my hands off, the feeling in my hands is that I've been putting on lotion. So that's what this shaving cream brings to the table. All right, I'll be right back after I take a close look at my little problem area here and see how well we're doing after 2 passes. The first pass didn't really do too much cutting. I mean, it did, but in terms of my neck area, and I was even going across grain, I didn't expect it to look this good after 2 passes, and it does. I could stop if I wanted to, and nobody at work would probably notice anything. It's that kind of a shave, but I've got a 3rd pass to go. When I was splashing water, I didn't feel any kind of nicks. So this razor and this blade are working well together to be smooth and to inspire confidence. Face feel is great. I didn't get any stinging or anything from when splashing water on my face. So, liking this little guy so far. It's so funny because I think the American one did better on the first pass, but then this British one made up for it on the second pass and caught up and maybe went a little further. I think my neck area right now is about the state of it when I was done with my 3rd pass with the American version and with many other razors. So let's see what it can do at pass number 3. A little water here. Oh, I can just feel that slickness on my face. I've got so much lather left over in this thing. I mean, look at that. That's crazy. So, it looks like from the hydrated feel of my face, the fact that the razor's moving very well, I must concur that my lather mix was good and it was hydrated properly. Now right now, look, it is kind of thin and almost dry looking on my face. So So let us try to add just a touch of water to the brush and see what happens here. See if it starts to build up and look nicer, be more protective. Yep, I think so. Look at this. The painting motions look a lot more like the first pass. So that was a wise thing to do, as it turns out. Add a little bit of water to the brush, because the brush does have plenty of soap on it. It just kind of need to pull it out of the badger sometimes. I'm a cold shaver, by the way. I can just take stuff right out of the tap and rinse my razor, refill my water cups and all that stuff. Don't have to worry about keeping things hot. Don't have to worry about keeping my lather hot. Okay. Light touch, I need to remember. Light touch. Very light. This area of my face has so many, the hairs here have so many twists and turns. Never knew that until I started using a double-edged blade. This side over here, I'm not doing the bottom to top pass like I did over here and in the middle, because this is such an easy shave that it doesn't really need it. And I didn't actually probably need to even do this, but we'll do it anyway. So this blade is working well. It's a great value blade. The Wilkinson swords are pretty cheap when you buy them by the 100, as are most razor blades, or at least they're a lot cheaper than when you buy them by a 20 pack or something. But these are just, I don't know, maybe $10 for the 100, whereas I think some of the feathers may be like 18 or 20 or 17, I don't know. More, they're more. And so this was just a good kind of a baseline razor to use for this test, because I mean, the feather is going to be able to cut after the second pass. I shouldn't need to shave anymore with the feather, and so it would only really judge deficiencies between the two aristocrats by choosing a blade that wasn't at the edge of the spectrum, but that was kind of in the middle, in the very sharp category instead of the crazy sharp category. Then I can see improvement and degradation. I see more of a range so that I can judge how they're doing. I'm feeling just a tad bit of irritation because I think I went off the reservation over here on this end. Not sure. All right, let's rinse and inspect. So no, miracles didn't happen. This razor and this blade combination did not finish off. There's still a little bit of length there in a few of the hairs, maybe 15 hairs, something like that, 20. And everywhere else you just see dots, the end of the hairs. But there you see a little bit of length, and I'm not going to chase it down anymore. try to do more passes or anything like this. I'll just leave it to be that way. I don't contribute to any more razor burn in that area. All right, well, holy cow, that was a slick soap. Very slick. Need to remember next time that this is a cream and not a hard soap. I was grinding on it like it was a... all right. So, I don't know how to pronounce the brand there. It's French. I'm not even going to try because I did take French in high school, but there's some letter combinations that I just don't know. So super slick, super slick. The scent is a little divisive. I would almost put it almost like a pine tar scent, or that level of scent with maybe a nicer tree. You know, like the oud family, maybe the Cade type fragrance is somewhere in that area. So, you know, it is a rich shaving cream. It is, wow, the feel is terrific. So, and then this little guy did great. We'll have the tour of him in just a little while. I'm going to let my face, nope, I'll go ahead and dry my face so I can go ahead and put my witch hazel on. Right now, before I dry, would be when some people put the alum on, but I think that's kind of something just the video guys do, and not John Q. Public. I mean, what point is that? I mean, it's an astringent, so you are kind of doing the astringent benefits to your face. Now, you're not closing pores. That's just a myth. You can Google that and find out more about that. But this is also a similar astringent, but it's a lot less stingy. But I'll tell you what, the alum block doesn't sting nearly as much as the styptic pencil. Just don't breathe this stuff in, right? Kind of agitated my throat one day. Don't know whether it's good or bad for you, but my skin's a little sensitive down here in the neck area, so I kind of do a pat motion to spread the witch hazel around. Most guys can do a normal hand movie thing. So I use distilled water for the soap. Now I will do a little cleaning up while I let the witch hazel kind of absorb into my skin. This is a little sticky since it's got I assume because it's got aloe in it. In that regard, next time, maybe I don't choose aloe, because I think the balm that I would use afterwards would have kind of those similar features, and so then I'd be able to skip the sticky stage. So I had tons of lather available to me from what I did. It did kind of dry out a little bit more than some other lathers. What do they call that? The cream, the crema, that little super rich stuff that was deep inside the brush. So now that I was reacquainted with the smoothness, softness, the lightness of this, I can go back to my other one and compare. Just shake out the brush. These guys have not been losing a lot of hairs with me. Just drying the brush off a little bit. And I saw some people do a report that said they found no difference between if you hang your brush or if you just set it down and have it brush up. Now for me, I would rather hang it down because dust tends to fall, and so then it's not catching all this dust right here. The dust is falling on the outside right here, you know, but that's just a tiny thing. And right now I don't have a rack in a right place. I do have a rack, but I don't have a lot of room in here. So I just let it sit straight up. In just a second, we'll do our razor tour. This is actually a dog bowl from the Dollar Tree. I wonder if a highfalutin razor like the Aristocrat 15 and a highfalutin cream have ever met in a Dollar Tree dog bowl. All right, we are good. So let's have our little razor tour. I'm going to kind of dry it off just a hair. And so here's mine. It's got a little bit of plating, some dots on the plating. You may be able to see, there's a reflection. The finish is so good on this, you can see the reflection of my phone. I'll raise this up. And there's the blade. These terrific little T shapes at the end really keep the blade held in perfect position. So that would contribute to consistency and a feel of confidence. Here's the inside of it. It's almost like brushed stainless steel or something. Here, I'll show you. And then that center bar goes down whenever you close it, like that. It's a really interesting mechanism. That part of the mechanism is kind of hidden a little bit in the American and more recent versions. And then here's the handle. And how you can tell this is a 15 and not the 16 is you've got this shoulder area here. As I recall, it's shorter on the 16. And then this shoulder area here that is not etched at all. It is pretty much flush with the main body of the handle, but on the 16 it is recessed a little bit and it's not as tall as that solid area right here. So I think I heard that the 15 was a little more aggressive than the 16, and I just found it to be a good shave. I didn't really notice aggression. I'm going to guess that it's just moderately aggressive. And a terrific little razor. Notice on this one there's not that center bar up in the top. It's kind of flush. So great little guy. Nice weight to it. He's heavy, and the handle is thick. But here's something I found out. I have another razor that has a much thicker handle, and while I do like the grip and control it affords, if I'm shaving this way and it's time now to flip it over with a handle that's this thick or lower, it's very easy just to quickly pivot with your fingers, whereas with the other one you'd have to do more work because there's more surface area that has to be rotated around by your fingers. So the Wilkinson Sword matched very well with this razor. I'm sure that something like an Astra or a Persona or a Feather or a Treat, I believe, is another one that I had really good luck with. A Gillette Silver Blue would do really well in this razor, and I might not even have to do a third pass. But I really enjoyed it. I didn't really notice too much of the fragrance as I was shaving. I mean, it's there, but it wasn't just, you know, in your face where you felt like I am just part of this thing. It was just pleasantly around, and you could smell it kind of if you wanted to. Kind of a nice, pleasant friend that you like to be around. And they're not trying to be overbearing. They're just there for you if you need them. So, I believe that that about covers it. You had the tour. I'll just show you these two brushes in comparison. The knot should be pretty much the same. This one is damp, so it's going to look a little bit more sparse because the tips are still kind of gathered together, whereas this one is fully dry. But then this handle, the Luna handle, is just a little bit longer, especially good for bowl latherers. This one is great for face. You can get right up there, and it's not in your way. But I'm been really happy with these so far. But now I'm going to switch back to my comfort handle here and just see, see how that is. Some of the maintenance you're supposed to do on these guys is every once in a while dip them in 1 part vinegar and like 4 parts water, or 5 parts water, and let them soak. That helps to remove some of the deposits left by soaps and skin cells and oils that you might use as a pre-shave or whatever. And then also they say to shampoo and condition it every once in a while, because these are animal hairs, and so conditioner will help to prolong their life and keep things from breaking off. So there's a little comparison with the 2 whip dog handles. The Loft, this is called the knot, the brush part. It is exactly the same for both of them, 24 millimeters, I believe. One thing I like to do between shaves is catch a whiff of the last used soap that still remains on the brush. Kind of rubber. And this is bringing a different nuance to the scent, because by itself dry, it's going to smell a certain way. As you lather it up, it may change and smell, different notes will come out. I believe that might be the same with it on the brush. And kind of like a car tire, a rubbery kind of smell. So maybe Cade is because rubber, there's a rubber tree. Anyway, I don't know where the scent comes from, but maybe I'll think of Cade as a sport race car type fragrance. And we got the burned car tires of a hot drag racing car. But one of the main purposes of this video was to compare the British and the American Aristocrats. So we're comparing the British 15 with the 1948 to 1950 American Aristocrat. They're both made around the same time frame. I think the beauty lies with the British version. I should have brought it over to show you and compare. But it's also a lot more expensive, so you get what you pay for. The weight is about the same. The shave, I recall feeling a little more confident in the blade of the American version. It was more like it was a straight razor blade, that it was being held solidly, than with this one by a small margin. This one had a little bit more audio feedback, a little bit more of the chatter from the blade, and so to me that probably indicates that wherever this vise part is holding down the blade is just a little farther away from the edge than the American version. Now, it's nothing like my Parker variant or some of those others, but still, that's just we're talking minor things here. I think by and large, you just pick the one you like looking at, right? The one that fits your budget and that you like looking at. But is it first impression? This is just first impression. They're both good. I probably liked the shave feel a little bit. The feel on the first pass goes to the, as I said, American version. The results, slight margin to the British version, because I did not have to even do a third pass to get to the same place where I did with the American version. So the end result, the win goes to the end result of the closeness of the shave. The win goes to the British version, and maybe that's why it's regarded so highly regarded, because it's a beautiful piece. It's made very well. It's already lasted 70 years, 80 years, and so it doesn't show very much sign of stopping. And it's almost like jewelry that you get to use every day as a part of your life, and so that's nice too. So my first impression is that because of the price difference, the win goes to the American Aristocrat, because the price difference is just so much that even though the British won in a couple of areas, it was a small margin of error, a small margin. And so, whereas the price difference is a large margin. And so, especially considering the in terms of a value aspect, the American wins. First impression. Who knows? After I use these guys for several months, I may come away with something very different. Now, in terms of the beauty factor, and then I believe that's obviously going to be personal preference, but it's going to be the British one. British one wins. Terrific. I believe that's all I needed to cover. If I have a footnote later, you'll see me in just a second. I did forget to put on my aftershave balms, Nivea, so I took care of that. And I do hope that there was something on here in my experience that was of help to you. And it is late and it's time for me to hit the sack. So take care.